The situation is becoming increasingly hostile for Canadian Hindus, with rising Hinduphobia and the growing influence of Khalistani radicals in Canada. With both the liberals and conservatives meekly surrendering before the Khalistani radicals, Canadian Hindus find themselves isolated. After the Khalistani elements breached another red line on 3rd November, a battery of Canadian politicians, including Justin Trudeau, opposition leader Poilievre, and Khalistani sympathizer Jagmeet Singh, condemned the violent attacks. However, cats caught their tongue as they failed even to call out Khalistani miscreants who perpetrated the violent attack on Hindus. Hello and welcome to Think for India. I'm your host Parish Gupta. In this video, we will highlight how, for political expediency, Canadian politicians are publicly prostrating before the Khalistanis and their abject contempt for Hindu lives. Let's begin. On 3rd November, the Khalistani radicals intruded into the Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton, Canada, and attacked the Hindu devotees. They did not even spare women. Initially, the Khalistani radicals raised anti-India slogans outside the Hindu Sabha temple, and when the Hindu community protested against the derogatory slogans, the Khalistani radicals forcibly entered the Hindu temple, launched a barbaric attack on Hindu devotees, including women. The most shocking part about the whole incident was the response of the Peel Regional Police. It had arrived on the scene along with the disgraced Royal Canadian Mounted Police RCMP. Now, instead of arresting the violent Khalistani radicals, the Canadian police officials went on to blame and attack the Hindu devotees. A footage circulating across social media shows a police officer moving into the crowd, targeting Hindu devotees, beating them with batons and punching Hindus in the head. The Canadian Organization for Hindu Heritage Education criticized the Peel police. It also held it responsible for failing to provide adequate security measures even when the Hindu Federation had issued a request earlier. They asserted that the shortfall reflects a troubling Hinduphobia within the police force. Notably, on 30th October, the Hindu Federation sent an urgent letter to the police in which they requested the police to increase the temple security from 31st October to 2nd November due to Diwali festivities. However, the Canadian police did not provide adequate security to the Hindu temple when it was publicly known that a consular service was scheduled there for 3rd November. Meanwhile, the Canadian Member of Parliament Chandrakant Arya fumed that the Canadian Khalistani extremists have crossed a red line. Taking to X, he added that the Khalistani attack shows how deep and brazen Khalistani violent extremism has become in Canada. Arya added that he now believes that there is truth in reports that the Khalistanis have effectively infiltrated their law enforcement agencies. Arya concluded by saying, and I quote, "As I have been saying for long, Hindu Canadians, for the security and safety of our community, need to step up and assert their rights and hold politicians accountable." Unquote. The response of the Peel police was shocking without an iota of doubt. But the responses from the Canadian leaders were appalling, to say the least. No Canadian politician, be it from the Liberal or the Conservative Party, had the gall to call out the Khalistani radicals. Even though the identity of the attackers was crystal clear, no Canadian politicians came out to take Khalistani extremism to task. Justin Trudeau, who has been providing a safe haven to Khalistani extremists in order to nurture his vote bank for his vested political interest, downplayed the whole incident by not naming the culprits of the violence. Not only did the Canadian PM hesitate to call out the Khalistanis, but also thanked the Peel Regional Police who sidelined Khalistanis and thrashed the Hindu devotees instead of protecting them. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party and the leader of the opposition, too, adopted the same line and failed to notice the Khalistani hand in the whole incident. Like Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre, the known Khalistani sympathizer Jagmeet Singh, Shiv Majumdar, Sonia Sidhu, Anita Anand, Arpan Khanna, Patrick Broman, Deepika Dameria all had the same tone while condemning the violent attack on Hindu temples. They did not mention the Khalistani extremists. The High Commission of India in Ottawa issued a statement condemning the incident. It said, and I quote, "We have seen violent disruption today, orchestrated by anti-India elements outside the consular camp, co-organized with the Hindu Sabha Mandir, Brampton, near Toronto. It is deeply disappointing to see such disruptions being allowed for routine consular work being organized by our consulates with the fullest cooperation of local co-organizers. The statement also highlighted concerns for the safety of Indian nationals and referenced similar attempts to disrupt consular camps held in Vancouver and Surrey on 2nd and 3rd November. The violent attack by Khalistani extremists at Hindu Sabha Mandir is not an isolated incident, but it is part of a worrisome trend. The Khalistani elements are getting political patronage right from the top. Anti-India protests, including the burning of the Indian flag that are orchestrated by Khalistani extremists on a regular basis, go unchallenged and thus embolden these groups. This lack of serious action allowed extremists to gain courage and feel secure even to storm a Hindu temple and launch violent attacks on Hindu devotees. The Canadian government must be held responsible, as by allowing these anti-India activities to go unchecked, the government has contributed to an atmosphere that puts the safety of Canadian Hindus at risk. It is pertinent to note that while the US has also strained ties with India over the alleged failed assassination plot against Khalistani terrorist Pannu, he had recently threatened attacks on Hindu temples. Now that his threat has in reality materialized in action, both the US and Canadian governments should smell the coffee before it is too late even for them. They should not forget the infamous episode when Trudeau Sr. was at the helm and how he gaslighted India's security concerns, threat warnings for which Canadians had to pay a heavy price for his political gamble. Going into the election year, both conservatives and liberals should remember that they are hobnobbing with Khalistanis at their own peril.